Let's take another quick look at the electric vehicle salary sacrifice spreadsheet and a couple of little additions I've recently made. Stay tuned. So welcome back to the channel, folks. JD here again. Apologies for the lack of content over the last few weeks. I've been actually struggling to know what to do a video about. I think I've covered most things on the channel. If you're new to the channel, check out all the videos. There's probably about 100 or so now. We're looking at PCP deals, lease deals, more recently salary sacrifice deals, which we're going to look at again today. How to get the best deal, what is APR, what is flat rate, all sorts of things. So there's loads of things for you to look at. So if you are new to the channel, thanks for popping by. Really appreciate you taking a look at the content. If anybody wants a copy of the spreadsheet, which I'm going to go through today, you can fling me an email here, and for a one-off donation of £10, you can have a copy, plus any updates I make. Obviously with this one, when tax changes, and certainly from next April when the national insurance thresholds change, the contributions change, I will be issuing a further update, because that will actually slightly change the salary sacrifice savings. I also have a spreadsheet which is for PCP and HP and personal loans. It enables you to compare different deals, look at your settlement figure at any time, check that you're getting a good deal. So if you want a copy of that one, you can again send me a quick email to the address shown here, and you'll get a copy, and as many copies as I care to make. Okay, so just to clarify, it's £10 donation per sheet, and you'll get as many updates as I care to make. Okay, so all I wanted to do very, very quickly is just do a very quick recap. So I keep seeing more and more now, certainly on Facebook advertising and that kind of thing, salary sacrifice car schemes. And they are definitely the way to go at the moment. So if anybody is considering an electric vehicle and your employer has a salary sacrifice scheme, or is open to looking into setting a salary sacrifice scheme up, with the currently very low benefiting kind rates on company vehicles, it's definitely the right time to get one. Now, who knows what's going to happen in the next 5 years? Because currently the benefiting kind rate on electric vehicles is 1%. So that's 1% of the P11D value. We'll look at that in a minute. And it's going to 2% from next year, so 22-23, up to 24-25. After that, who knows? So at this moment, it is a very good time to get your employer to set up some kind of salary sacrifice scheme. And if anybody wants any pointers on setting up a scheme, I'm more than willing to help. So this spreadsheet I set up, and some of you have already purchased it, and I know you're finding it useful, but I just thought I'd go through it again and also just talk about a couple of additions which I'm currently working on. So what is salary sacrifice? Let's talk about that first. So salary sacrifice means that you are effectively changing your contract of employment with your employer to say that I want to take off, if you like, I want to top slice some of my salary, and I want to use that to pay for a benefit, and that's where benefit in kind tax comes in as well, and it applies to all sorts of things, so gym memberships and cycle to work schemes, all sorts of things. But what it enables you to do is you say, okay, well, let's say I earn £30,000 a year, so my taxable pay is £30,000 a year. I want to take, let's say, £5,000 off that and use that whole £5,000, the gross amount, to lease a car. So my new taxable pay is only £25,000, so I'm paying less tax and less national insurance, and in some cases less pension. If your pension is a contribution based on your taxable pay, obviously that's something to be aware of, because if you salary sacrifice some of it, your pension contribution could drop as well. But it means that you can use all of your salary to lease a car, or so all of a proportion of your salary to lease a car, rather than paying tax on all of your salary and then using some of your net pay to lease a car. And as you'll see in a minute, depending on your circumstances, you can actually, believe it or not, save up to 62% on the lease of a vehicle. That's only in the rare circumstances that you earn over £100,000 a year. So not me and not many of us, but if you are fortunate enough to have that kind of salary, the savings, as you'll see on a salary sacrifice car, certainly an electric vehicle, are huge. So let's just go through an example. So let's say on the spreadsheet we're putting our tax code. Now, for most people, unless you've already got any adjustments on your tax code, it's going to be 1257L. So I'm going to assume that we've got a standard tax code. I'm going to ignore pension contributions, but this will let you add a percentage pension contribution. It will also let you choose whether it's taken pre or post tax. The new thing which I'm currently looking at, and this was from a kind suggestion from one of my viewers, is could we look at adding student loan contributions? So I have been working on that, and this new sheet will let you choose. Can you? Oh yeah, that's interesting. You can't see the drop down on. Let me just come back to that. There's a drop down here, but it's not coming up on my screen grab software. But essentially, there's a little drop down box there that you can choose whether you're on plan 1, plan 2, plan 4, or a postgraduate loan. So it will let you factor in student loan calculations as well. Let's assume that we're going to choose no for that. So let's take an example. So let's say our normal salary is £40,000 a year. Okay, so if we scroll down here, look, it'll tell us we're a 20% taxpayer, so we're under the 40% threshold. That's when benefits can start to get better, because if you are traditionally a 40% taxpayer and you salary sacrifice enough of your salary to bring your taxable pay under the threshold so that you're a 20% taxpayer, obviously the savings are greater. So normally we would come out roughly, look, with £2,571 a month after tax and NI. So we're paying £457 in income tax and £304 in national insurance. Again, as I said at the beginning, these will change. So April next year, national insurance, both company and employer and employee contributions are going up by 1.25%. So our net pay is going to come down. But it means that the savings will be greater because you're saving that 1.25% extra on your salary sacrifice. So it swings and roundabouts. Right, so if we go over here, look, so our salary, look, £40,000 a year. Let's say this will also let you add a car allowance in. So a car allowance is an additional amount of money that an employer will give you. And often that's still taxable and subject to national insurance. And then you take that money and lease a car with it, or PCP a car or HP a car, whatever. But because it's subject to tax and national insurance, if your employer gives you, say, £500 a month for a car, in your pocket, you might only get £300 or something like that. So again, this is why salary sacrifice works better, because you can use that entire £500 a month to lease a car. But we'll assume we've got no car allowance, but this is where we put in our car salary sacrifice amount. So let's say it's £500 a month for the sake of argument. So if I do 500, this is per year, so 500 times 12, £6,000 a year. So our new taxable salary lot, so the taxman, if you like, will only assume we're earning £34,000 a year. Which obviously means, if we scroll down here, look, we've saved £100 in tax and £60 in national insurance. So our total tax here, look, 357. We were paying 457. That's a good example. Look, that's an exact £100 a month. So this spreadsheet will tell me, look, if I was to lease a car for £500 a month, how much is that actually costing me? It's costing me £340 a month. So for a standard 20% taxpayer with a standard code, it's roughly, well actually it's exactly at the moment, 32% saving. So you can see there, it would have cost us £500 a month, but because we're taking it pre-tax, salary sacrifice, it's only costing us £340. So it's quite a handy little spreadsheet. Now, this will also let us do other things. So obviously, our monthly saving is £340. Actually, it's not. It's minus £340 because obviously we're salary sacrificing for a car. But let's assume that we already pay out let's say £450 a month out of our net pay on a personal loan for a car. Let's say we have to insure it, so let's say that's £25 a month. Road tax, let's say that's, I don't know, what's it going to be now? 155 over 12. So £12.92 a month. And let's say we've got a traditional petrol diesel car. And let's say we get 35 mpg And obviously with the recent fuel crisis, petrol's gone up a bit. So let's say we're paying, well, let's say it's a diesel car. So let's say we're paying 145.9 a litre, which is £6.63 a gallon. This is why electric vehicles are really coming into their own at the moment. Total miles a month. Let's say we normally do 1,000 miles a month. So we would need 28.5 gallons, and it would cost us £190 a month, give or take a few pence. Now, do you get a mileage allowance? You can choose yes or no. So this is where if you're using your car for business use, you might get an allowance. So let's say, okay, yes we do. And out of that 1,000 miles a month, we do 500 business miles. And how much do we get? Okay, well, let's say we get the standard. So 45 pence a mile up to the first 10,000 miles a year. And then 20, is it 20 or 25? I think it's 20. Won't make any odds anyway. So we would have a £225 a month mileage claim here. But it still costs us £189. So we're only, what, 35 quid up. Now, additional mileage credit. Now, that's quite useful. If you choose yes, what it will do, it will only apply if your employer doesn't give you standard HMRC approved mileage rates. So let's say we only got 25 pence a mile. This would give us an extra 20 pence per mile on the amount of miles we claim for and automatically add it onto our tax code up here. So we're going to choose no. Let's say we're putting away 25 quid for servicing. So that car lot is costing us £477 a month. And that's including us paying for mileage, but us claiming £225 mileage back again. So you can see, look, even though the car is less per month, £450 plus running costs, and we've got a leased car here for £500, and I should say that normally a salary sacrifice scheme will include insurance, it will include maintenance, it will include tyres, so all you've got to do effectively is charge it. So currently we're £137 a month better off by leasing a car which technically is more per month than our current agreement. However, we've obviously got to run the electric car. So let's say we get 4 miles per kilowatt hour. Basically, if you're not familiar with electric cars, that basically means that the car will travel 4 miles for every unit of electricity. For a unit of electricity is 1,000 watts, and it will travel 4 miles per 1,000 watts. How much are we paying for our electricity? Well, I'm on Octopus Go Faster, which gives me a rate of 5.5 pence inclusive of VAT for 5 hours a day. So I only charge in that cheap window. So I'm going to put in there, it's costing me 5.5 pence. Now it's picked up we're doing 1,000 miles a month from this table. Believe it or not, look, in diesel it was costing us £189.46. To do the same 1,000 miles in an electric car, assuming 4 miles per kilowatt hour, would cost us just £13.75 if we've got cheap overnight charging. We could even assume that we haven't got our own we haven't got insurance on the scheme. So let's be fair and let's say we've got to insure the car at £25 a month. We are still £98 a month better off. And that's with no mileage allowance. You know, that is us paying for all the electricity. Now you can claim the standard rate for electricity from HMRC is 4 pence per mile, believe it or not, which isn't a huge amount. I need to do a little bit more research into that because there are caveats on it. But effectively the approved HMRC rate before you pay tax on it is 4 pence per mile, which is, unless you're charging overnight on a cheap tariff, probably is not quite enough to run the car. Anyway, so that's how the spreadsheet works. Other things that the spreadsheet will do is it will now take into account a negative tax code. So if you've got an M tax code, you just put in the minus figure and it will take that into consideration. It will also adjust your tax code if you are a higher rate taxpayer, and that's not a much higher rate taxpayer, and that's what I'm going to talk about now. If you are lucky enough, so I'm just going to have a swig of coffee. If you are lucky enough to earn over £100,000 a year, for every £2 over £100,000 a year that you earn, your tax code drops by £1. So if you earn £125,000 a year, divide that extra over the 100,000 by 2, so 25,000 over is £12,500 off your tax code, which effectively means if you earn £125,000 a year, you've practically got zero tax code. So you start paying 20% base rate immediately. And that is why if you use that extra money to salary sacrifice an electric vehicle, you'll see it's up to 62% savings. So let's say we've got a standard tax code, and let's say we earn £110,000 a year. Now notice the spreadsheet has automatically taken off 500 if you like. So times that by 10 on your tax code, 5,000. So it's taken £5,000 off your tax code because we're earning £10,000 over £100,000. Hope that makes sense. So normally our net pay, blimey, if only, would be £5,874 a month. Okay, we would pay £2,786 in tax because our personal allowance has dropped to £757 now. Watch what happens if we say, actually, I'm going to salary sacrifice 10,000. I mean, you'd be quite unlikely to find a salary sacrifice scheme that's exactly £10,000 a year. Although your employer can salary sacrifice what they like, they don't have to salary sacrifice the entire amount. Anyway, so £10,000 a year. Look what's happened. Our tax code has gone back up to 1257 now because our new taxable pay is 100,000. So 100,000 or less, you don't start getting that adjustment in personal allowance. So if we scroll down, we have saved £500 a month in income tax, and we've saved, you don't save much NI as you're a higher rate taxpayer, but you save 16 quid. So look at the overall saving, 62%. So that £10,000 a year or £833 a month to lease a car is actually only costing us £316. Incredible. Now there's one other thing we haven't talked about, and that's benefit in kind tax, and this spreadsheet will do it for us. So this year the benefit in kind tax rate is 1%. And what does that mean? It basically means you have the P11D value of the car, which is basically the purchase price plus any options and things. So let's say we've got a car of £50,000 P11D value. Now you don't pay 1% of £50,000, which is £500 in income tax. £500 is the benefit that gets taken off your tax code. So if you are a 20% taxpayer, £500 off your tax code times 20% is only £100. So your company car tax, if you like, on a £50,000 car would only be £100 a year at the moment, and that's why it's such a good time to. Sorry, my dog's knocking at the door. Give me 1 second. Come on then. Come on. Let's say hello. Anybody met Gracie before? So, as I was saying, that's why they're so cheap. And next year, up until 24-25, the rate's only 2%. So if I put 50,000 in here, lot, it tells me that the benefit in kind is £500. And that's come off our tax code. So our tax code was 1257L, it's now 1207L. So our tax will go up very slightly, but only probably by about, in this example, £7 or £8 a month. Next year, it's going to go to 2%. So obviously £1,000 will be the benefit in kind. £1,000 will come off our tax code. So that's why, at the moment, until 24-25, salary sacrificing an electric vehicle is very, very beneficial. Now, who knows what might happen? If you compare, if I was to tell you a standard BMW 5 Series, 520 diesel, 2 litre car, has got a benefit in kind of 32%. So if that was 32%, we end up with a negative tax code. So that's why salary sacrificing a petrol or diesel car isn't very beneficial. But an electric car, because it's currently 1%, our tax is minimal. So even with that lot, with our 1% in this £110,000 a year salary, we are still saving 60% of the salary sacrifice amount. Hope that was useful. Thanks for watching. Please do feel free to comment, give this video a thumbs up, and please subscribe if you haven't already done so. It's always useful to get more subscribers. I haven't done so many videos lately, so the subscription count has gone down slightly, but I appreciate everybody who subscribes and gives the videos a thumbs up. As I said, do fling me an email if you want a copy of either of the spreadsheet. Until next time, take care.